Alright, we're about 24 hours out of putting the briskets on. I've taken a load of wood out to the place where I'm going to be cooking, dropped it off. I've loaded some of the stuff into the truck, but I still have a lot of stuff to load, and I do not want to do it. Anyway, it's almost 1 a.m. I'm really tired. I'm going to be putting the briskets on in about 23 hours from right now, and I at least have some comfort because I'm going to eat some delicious Jack in the Box with some crispy fries. Fresh. Let's go. Alright, it's time. I'm going to pick up my smoker right now. I can't wait. Okay. Cool. Alright, sweet. Let's take a look. Awesome, man. Oh, I got the plug-in truck. Let me grab it.
Good.
Yeah.
How proud are you?
I hate to see it go. I'm getting a little weepy thinking about it not being here.
Well, you can come visit anytime.
Yeah, spent so much time with it over the last 8 days.
Okay, is that right?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, I do like this you put on there.
The patina?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great with the tan, right?
Yeah, it does. Oh, it smells good. Real fire. 200. Nice gauges. All right. Firebox. I like the handle. I dig the handle. Pretty awesome. Forward. Pretty sick. All right. Yeah, I'm pumped. Super pumped. I'm rocking my Fatstack shirt today, and I pick up a Fatstack smoker. Yeah. This is pretty sick. How hot is that? Bird and toast. It's not as heavy as I thought it might be. You know?
Yeah, they actually do that. To drain it, just use your jack. So lower it down, open the valve, everything comes right out.
Okay.
You've got about 8.5 inches of height here and about 5 inches of height here. So all but the beefiest briskets will fit up here as well.
Right.
If you do end up with like a lot of large, like you have a lot of large ones, take the smallest ones you can, or the shortest, like the not tallest ones, stick them up here at first, and then when you switch them, because the ones on bottom will shrink after they cook for a little bit. These guys pull out. Everything's seasoned and oiled. You want to make sure every time you use this guy, you don't really have to do any more oiling. It's good and seasoned, but you do want to get a hose in here after you're done cooking and just hose all the grease down the drain.
Right.
That's pretty much it. The draw is great. Can't really see it 'cause it's all cold down now, but this morning it was like a freaking locomotive shooting smoke up into the sky.
Good. I was trying to think of a name for the smoker. Have you ever seen that Key and Peele sketch where they have the substitute teacher?
Yeah.
Like from the inner city and he mispronounces everybody's name, like Jay Quillen. And you know Jay Quillen here?
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, I could name it after Aaron Franklin, but I would call it Aaron instead.
Aaron is good.
Aaron. But I feel like it's got to be like a girl name, you know? Like,
They
like
usually
a name
are,
like
yeah.
Cow, you know?
Yeah.
Like Daisy or like Bessie or something.
Yeah.
But I don't think it could be like Richard. You know?
Yeah, you might have to do a cook on it, and then like at some point about 3 o'clock in the morning, the name will just pop into your head, and then you'll know.
Maybe so. Hopefully so. Okay, let's take this picture.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
So yeah, you see it pushing back.
The maiden voyage of yet to be named. Hey Dash, what up? That was a good boy. You're a good boy. All right, lunchtime. Got to fuel up for this long cook. I'll probably go back to Chipotle and get another burrito before they close. It's like fuel for the whole evening. Wow, that was a lot of sauce. Let that kind of like seep through. There's a lot of Tabasco sauce. Okay. Tasty. You know, right now you think this is what you want? Tasty? But guess what? No, it's not what you want. In a couple hours, we're going to have like 80 pounds of brisket trimmings. And you want that a lot more than you want this. I can guarantee it. Just imagine it now. Brisket trimmings, piled high as a mountain. As much as you could possibly eat. I know, right? Amazing. It's exciting, right? Isn't it? Yeah. I'll put some aside for you. Okay, you'll have a little bit of that glorious mountain of brisket trimmings. But you won't have my burrito. Got gloves. Well, I got a trash bag. Got gloves. Got glove liners. Okay? This is my friend Claire. She's graciously volunteered to help us trim these 20 briskets, which is a major plus. So thank you, Claire.
Welcome. I'm like so psyched to be here right now.
I'm like totally excited. I can't believe how great this is.
Like, this is such an amazing experience. I can't wait for all my followers to follow me while I'm doing this.
Coolest thing I've ever done.
I think it might be.
Like totally.
Okay. So do these glove liners really work, Jeremy?
So they're gonna help when we're slicing the briskets. When they're hot, they're gonna be like 140, 50 degrees or something like that. We're gonna put them on the cutting board like this, and we're gonna be slicing them. And so if it's just the glove between you and the brisket, you're gonna burn your hand pretty severely.
Okay.
But this should make it tolerable. It'll be warm, but it won't be hot, like searing, pain, etc. But right now I'm using it as like an extra layer of defense against cutting yourself severely, rather than burning yourself severely.
Great.
Even though it's not a... I've cut myself enough times to know it's not a good experience. So, el proceso.
Oh man, that's a lot of meat.
That's a little guy. All right. Okay. So, I'm gonna grab el knifo. I'm just gotta open up this. This is the fat side of a brisket.
Okay.
So I'm totally covered in fat. This is the meat side of the brisket.
Okay.
You don't want to get rid of all the fat because it protects the meat from burning up, but it does nobody any good if you have way too much fat, because nobody wants to eat like a huge chunk of fat. There's like people like bacon because there's meat and fat. Otherwise, why don't they just fry fat and, you know, put it in your breakfast? Well, you need both, right? It's meat and fat together. That makes it tasty. So we want meat and fat. 100% fat. 99% fat. Okay? Get rid of it. Okay? I'm just going to go along the side here because there's a lot of extra fat, and I want to expose that really good meat because the bark is the best tasting part of anything you barbecue. So I want to expose that just outside edge of meat, right? To the seasoning that I'm going to put on it, and I want it to taste really good. Big thing like flops over like this guy right here.
Does this?
We're just going to trim that guy off.
Okay.
It's going to burn, it's not going to survive, and there's no reason to keep it.
Okay.
It could be awesome, but probably it's not, so we're not going to pretend.
Okay.
But anyway, so he might be maybe the smartest person I've ever met. Super smart, speaks like 5 languages.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he's a really smart guy. But anyway, so he shows up like the first time after I tutored his son in chemistry, and he's like, yeah, you know, not feeling too good. I was like, oh yeah? He's like, yeah, you know, went to dinner, you know, didn't drink any H2O, had a little too much NaCl. You know, should have gone with H2O, but I went with C2H5OH. And now I'm producing a little bit too much H2S, so.
You're talking the element table.
Yeah, so
Hydrogen sulfide gas.
yeah, so I was like, okay, only a nerd would appreciate this, you know?
He knew you were a nerd.
So,
Fat is flavor.
fat is indeed flavor.
This guy is so perfect.
All right, this is brisket number 12, I believe, out of 20. And each brisket is weighing somewhere in the neighborhood of 17 pounds, which is a little bit bigger than I had anticipated. But I'm gonna trim away. Doing it this way, I'll know that whatever I trim, I'm not gonna be, you know, running out of meat, so that's good. That's the thing I want to avoid. I don't want to have too little meat, and I don't want to have meat that's not good. So trim mercilessly and produce the very best quality product I can. Not about pounds, but about tastes. So it's midnight now. I'm getting ready to put these briskets on the smoker here. It is going to be probably about a 14-hour cook, I'm expecting. And so this is the very last brisket I have. This is the seasoning I'm using. And I'm going to season my last brisket, and I'm going to throw all these guys on the smoker. Like Deion Sanders, prime time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is prime brisket. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So, one brisket in. Two brisket in. Oh, I'm hoping to go 3 wide.
Not gonna be able to hold 30. Trying to fuck that.
Yeah. Got those guys.
It's like this.
This guy. Whew. I have to condense some of these guys.
When we're warming up, you said we were gonna watch it tonight.
So I put the briskets on at a little bit before midnight last night, and so they've been smoking for about 9 hours now, and so it's time to wrap if you want to get a look at them a little bit before we do that. So they're nice and dark. I've actually had to rotate them some, but I was doing that in the middle of the night, so it wouldn't really show up on video. So like this guy's really dark, but not burned, which is good. It started in the front. This guy started in the middle and went to the front and out of the back. So just kind of moving them all around just to try to get as even cooking as possible. And now I'm gonna wrap them up. So we can get to it. You know, Murphy's Law, right, Erica? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. hoping to be done in about 2 hours. I think we're gonna finish on time. The only thing is, it's so windy up here that it's really hard to get the smoker to draw properly and, you know, maintain the right kind of temperature. So, just trying to fight through that and make it work. So, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the maiden voyage of this smoker. You guys saw the briskets that were in the smoker earlier, and then showed wrapping them. And that was after a couple of things went seriously wrong. Number one is I had to avoid a grease fire. So I thought I'd drained all the grease out, and so I was trying to get as much convection going through the smoker as I could. So I tilted it up so the nose is just a little up. And then all of a sudden I just heard this weird sound, smelled something funny. I actually hadn't drained all the grease out because I thought I had, because some came out, and I thought, oh, I guess that's it. And then it stopped. And I lifted it up, and I see just some weird smoke coming out of the firebox. So I go over there and look, and I see in the front of the firebox there is a bunch of grease. I'm like, oh no. So I pull out all the briskets right away, and then I try to corral that grease, like remove everything from the firebox, light the fire again, put the briskets back on, and that's where you guys saw the briskets back on the smoker. And then after that, after I wrapped them in butcher paper, I had this crazy wind. I don't know if you can tell how windy it is, but it's extremely windy here. So I had to fight against the wind all day, which was a pain in my butt, and just trying to fight to get everything done. So what I did is I wrapped in foil. I actually just pulled them out in the butcher paper, wrapped them in foil, because I have to get these done on a deadline. And so that was just whatever it takes to get it done on time. It's not how I wanted it. It's disappointing, of course, but I had to get it done. So wrapped them in foil, and now they're cooking in there. I got about 5 of them pulled off out of the 20 briskets that I'm cooking, and probably 10 are gonna come off in the next 10 or 15 minutes, something like that. And then I got 5 stubborn ones that are just kind of behind. Well, maybe 3 really stubborn ones that are just kind of behind. And so we're gonna try to get those done. We should have enough meat even without those, but we'll try. We'll see what we can do. Now the grease fire was something I didn't expect really, because I wasn't running super hot. I was running maybe 275 on this end and 225 on that end. So it wasn't, you know, like 325, 275, something like that. It was relatively mild, you know, low temperature. And so what happened was, it was cold last night, like 50 degrees. And so what had happened is the grease had solidified in the grease train, or it had turned to kind of a sludge. And so it was just a trickle, trickle, trickle that was kind of eking out of there. And so what I actually had to do, when I figured out what had happened after I had the grease debacle, is I had to get a torch and heat up that drain. And so all of that sludge turned into liquid and came out, and I could get back to cooking. I cooked hotter, and I hadn't had the problem since. It was just abnormally cold here for California last night. It's like you just jammed it in it.
But you still have blood on your hand. Oh no, that's a different cut.
Okay. The only casualty of this cook was I jammed my finger and it started to bleed. That's fine. Which one you get?
This is what I get.
Oh.
This is what I
Perfect.
get.
Well then,
They have these at the 99-cent store, and she'll buy me like 5.
oh, well this was $1.99, so it's worth twice as much. All right, all done. Before service, ready to go. Good. Well, I can't reach or grab anything. Yeah, it's still hot. Okay?
Same deal.
Still hot.
Those are the fresh ones.
The old ones are still hot.
They are.
So, good. Good.
It smells amazing.
Cold last night for California. It was like 50 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah, so like the metal tube, right, that's for the grease tube, it's like this big 2-inch tube, like nothing stopped it up. Like it always will drain, right? And so the way it works is I lower the front, drain the grease, right? Put it back to level, maybe a little bit above level just for extra airflow. Because, you know, hot air rises, it kind of helps move the air, which is good for cooking. So I lower it down, I open the valve, it's like drip, drop, drip, drop, drip, drop, drip, 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 drop, drop, drip, drop, drip, drop, drip, drop, drop, drip, drop. It's like, well, that's not very much. Usually it's like a lot. And so I'm like, all right, I close the thing down because I'm not cooking very hot. I'm cooking like 225, which isn't very hot. And I raise the nose back up, like turn the thing at the front, like, and then all of a sudden I smell this weird smell. I see some like smoke from back at the firebox. I'm like, grease fire, right? So I throw open the doors and I'm like grabbing briskets and throwing them to like I don't know. It's like. It was weird. I think I unloaded 20 briskets in like 20 seconds. I was like, right? Anyway, so then
We didn't lose any.
no, we didn't.
Wow.
Hopefully. So it was just like this little bitty fire that it caught, but there was like 2 gallons of grease in the front of the firebox because it kept the fire at the back of the firebox. And I was like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? So I'm like, ugh. So I was like, maybe I could shovel out the grease. So I shovel like the first shovel of grease, and as I bring it past the fire that I have, just immediately like a fireball. It's like, all right, that's not gonna work. So I took all the meat off, and I intentionally lit the grease fire. It's like, just burn up all the grease. Once it's burned itself out, I'll take all the ashes, like all the fire there, and quench it in like ice water and get rid of it. Start my fire over again. I have this big torch that I can use to just get the fire started in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
So that whole process took like an hour. So I started last night at like 11 something. And there was that, and like right after the sun came up today, it was super windy, which is horrible for like a smoker, because like the airflow thing's not working right. So there was that. Then I was wrapping in butcher paper, and we had some briskets that were really big. Like one was 23 pounds. Yeah, so all of that stuff kind of combined to just make it like a lot of stuff was difficult. But
The fact that you didn't lose any, man, that's
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, my plan changed a bunch throughout the course of the whole cook. I was wrapping in butcher paper, which is like a slower but kind of a better way to do it. And then I was like, it's not going to finish on time. And so I just like, you either wrap in aluminum foil or you wrap in butcher paper, right? So you choose one. But anyway, so I wrapped in butcher paper, and I was like, oh, these lost so much heat when I pulled them all out. I had to wrap 20 briskets. I pulled them all out at the same time, but they lost a lot of heat. I'm like, oh no, I gotta have this done by this time. Am I gonna get it done? Oh. So Erica went out with me, and it was gusting wind like crazy. Erica could barely hold on to the aluminum foil, right? And so instead of unwrapping it and wrapping the aluminum foil, we just threw the butcher paper down, wrapped it in aluminum foil, threw it back on. We did the whole thing. We did 20 briskets in like 8 minutes. Like, it was like, whoosh, extra piece, throw it back on. Like, I mean, we're like, gotta get it done.
That's impressive.
And the craziest thing is, even after all of the like out of your mind stuff we did to finish on time, we only got, I think, 12 little biscuits done on time.
Man.
Out of
Yeah.
how many?
That's
20.
crazy.
The other 8, like probably 6 of them were close. Like, I could have sent them along, but I was like,
Don't
I don't-
miss that, man.
it's like I would rather bring them after, not ideal, but I'd rather bring them after the ceremony and, you know, show up with something that will be at least close to tender, instead of something that'll taste kind of good but be kind of chewy, you know? So I wanted to produce like a product that like I wouldn't be ashamed of. Like, I'm not really happy about it at all. I'm like,
You're not ashamed of it though.
it could have been way worse. All right,
Get it,
so,
Yotes.
do my big bloody board. Okay. By the way, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna serve this one first, okay? Followed by that container,
Okay.
okay, with the one wrapped only in butcher paper being served very last.
Okay.
3 choppers, 1 facilitator, 1 quality control expert.
Who is?
I'm gonna watch to make sure everything's okay.
Okay.
Erica's gonna bring pans and whatnot,
Okay.
and 3 people spicing.
Jeremy, tell me what to do.
Okay, so like this guy, gonna pull this out. The process is gonna be like this. We're gonna spill juice on the board, on the table, on the floor. It's just gonna happen. There's no way around it. We can do some things to try to mitigate that, but it's just part of it. It's just gonna happen. Okay, so we're wearing glove liners in both hands. It'll still be warm, but it won't burn me delicate little fingers. Okay? Me delicate little fingers. For some reason, that reminds me of Andrew Curry. I remember I was telling Dr. Scott the other night, last night. It seems like it went on forever. I was telling him, Andrew Curry, you thought you were pretty much the greatest doctor of all time. He was like, Dr. Scott is so good at being a doctor that they put him in charge of other doctors. These knives are extremely sharp. I have like a massive wound on my left index finger to prove it. Okay? They're extremely sharp, so be very careful. All right, so there is probably a crusty bit on this end, if there's a crusty bit anywhere. The other possibility is crusty bits right here. There's a flatter side, they call it the flat. It's leaner, it's flatter. There's a thicker side, they call it the point. Because on a lot of briskets, it comes to a point. This brisket kind of looks like the point would be right here. Like if you're like, where's the point? Right there, right? But no. Okay? It's the fattier side, okay? So the basic process is, you want to take slices like this, slice, 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 slice. We get about halfway. We're going to start seeing two muscles instead of just one that you're cutting into. At that point, we're going to rotate 90 degrees and slice that. So, step one, we're going to take a first cut here. Okay? And if the meat is pink, that doesn't mean it's not cooked. It just means that there was smoke in the cooking process. Okay? So we're cutting like pencil-sized slices here.
Pencil. All right.
We're just gonna go through, cut. It's not the end of the world if you don't get, exactly the same size, but something like this. We don't want to like cut too thin or too thick. If you notice that the meat seems tough, cut thinner. If you notice that it seems really loose, cut thicker. Because it'll just hold together better on the slice.
Okay.
So if it feels like it's like falling apart, cut thick slices. If it feels like it's really tight and you have to work at it, and after you cut a few briskets, you know what I'm talking about. Until you cut a few briskets and get a sense of it, like if you cut it like this, it'll be okay. Like you'll live.
Are you pleased with how it feels right now?
It's okay. I'm not exactly pleased, but I mean, like it could have been way worse. So I consider it a win that it wasn't way worse. So at this point, we can kind of turn it 90 degrees and start slicing along the side. So this is fatty brisket. So if you think of this as pencil size, you think of like skinny pencil, fat pencil. So you can cut this a little thicker because it's going to be a different grain. It's going to be more forgiving in terms of like cutting a thicker slice.
Haha, yes.
Thanks, man.
How about them apples?
Okay. So this is the opposite end if you want to taste the opposite end. Different texture. Yeah. All right, you guys are slicing, go for it. You have some chunks here.
Oh, that's so good.
Is it?
Okay.
Yo.
Chad? This is probably gonna taste better. Like if anybody wants some of that, it's gonna be fattier, but like I enjoy it more.
So good.
Okay. Oh,
So good. That's good. Thickness.
a little thinner. Yeah. Donald Trump.
Way to go, Jerry.
You see, wishes he had brisket like this, but quite frankly, he can't. Because America is the greatest brisket producer in the entire world. And quite frankly, it's fantastic. Okay. So when I go to Austin, I always get brisket seasoned with only salt and pepper, okay? All right, we survived. I don't think any of the brisket was like way underdone. Some of it was a little bit overdone, but people will forgive you for a slightly overdone brisket. If it's smoky, if it's tender, people will be okay with it. So I don't think anything was egregiously over or undercooked, so it's happy.
Do you want some more?
I was gonna say this tastes really good. I didn't want to.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Well, thanks. Hold on. Did you get any gourmet pieces?
No.
But they're like salty and fatty.
I'm getting special stuff.
Came back for thirds. Consider that a win. You know, what can I say?
Huh.
Thank you all so much for being here. I know some of you have come from far away. Fatstack, Arlene, Blake, my entire family. We are all here. When I was sitting down to write this, I ended up going to among many childhood memories of Carly and I found
This end cut piece right here, that's where the gold is. It looks like Cheese Whiz, man. Like I can spread it, which I don't like. I feel like cheese should be hard, and I'm probably totally doing this the wrong way since this isn't how I roll, you know? Get another half. But first, I thought honey on this sounded really gross, but it's actually incredible. It should have been 2 bites. It's really good. I got coffee because without it, I may die. I'm so tired.
So that it could run out.
Yep. Like it would have been.
You would have been up a